Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to all of my students. I am Dr. Zarin Tastin, Assistant Professor at the Nakich Medical College. Today, we will start our new chapter, Bones, Joints and Soft Tissue. The adult human skeleton is composed of 206 bones that accounts for 12% of total body weight. What are the functions of bones? It gives us mechanical supports, helps in force transmission, gives internal organ protection and mineral homeostasis, and also serves as the major site of hematopoiesis during postnatal life. Bone consists of extracellular matrix and several cell types. Matrix is composed of osteoid, which is 35%, and minerals, which is 65%. Osteoblast, osteocytes, and osteoclast are the cellular components of bone. Today, we'll talk about osteomyelitis in detail. So first of all, what is meant by it? Osteo means bones, myelos means marrow, and itis means inflammation. So what is osteomyelitis? It is the inflammation of bone and marrow, virtually always secondary to infection. What are the sites of osteomyelitis? Before knowing about the sites, let's see a diagram of long bone. This is the epiphysis. This area is known as diaphysis. This is epiphysis. The growing end of the diaphysis is known as metaphysis. So this is the metaphysis. This is known as the medullary cavity of bone. This is the articular cartilage here and here. Bone is covered by periosteum, and inner surface of the endosteum medullary cavity is known as endosteum. Now moving to the sites. In neonates, osteomyelitis affects metaphysis or epiphysis or both. In older children, it affects the metaphysis. In adult, it affects the epiphysis and subchondral region. What are the causative organism of osteomyelitis? Most common cause is Staphylococcus aureus. In 80 to 90% of culture positive cases, the organism is Staphylococcus aureus. So, if any suspected case of osteomyelitis and if antibiotic have to start before the culture sensitivity report, then we have to prescribe an antibiotic which must cover Staphylococcus aureus. But there are some specific conditions where positive organisms are different. In case of IV drug abusers, it may be caused by Escherichia coli, Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, and Haemophilus influenza. In case of sickle cell disease, it may be caused by Salmonella. In case of neonates, it may be caused by Haemophilus influenza, group B, Streptococcus. In broad category, osteomyelitis can be divided into two types, pyogenic osteomyelitis and non-pyogenic osteomyelitis. Pyogenic means where there is formation of pus. In non-pyogenic osteomyelitis, tissue damage occurs, but there is no production of pus. Most common example of non-pyogenic osteomyelitis is tubercular osteomyelitis. Another one is syphilitic osteomyelitis. An important information must be noted that no organism can be isolated in 50% of cases. That means other 50% cases of osteomyelitis are caused by these organisms. Bones are protected by skin, soft tissue, and important membrane called periosteum, which protects bone from infection. So, how this organism breaches bone and produce osteomyelitis? In case of children, mostly hematogenous, and in case of adult, local spread from surgical wound, trauma, diabetic foot, and hematogenous spread. As we discussed before, that osteomyelitis is virtually secondary to infections. That means infective organism is already persisting in the affected individual. Presence of bacteria in the blood is known as bacteremia. Any kind of injury to the body may causes bacteremia. And these bacteria are usually removed from the body by phagocytosis. But by any reason, if these bacteria persist in the body and able to survive, they may settle in different parts of the body. Usually, they choose bones, especially in the growing plate of the metaphysis in young children. Why they choose metaphysis? There are some reasons. It is because of there is a peculiar blood circulation in the metaphysis, then less leukocytes in that area that causes less phagocytosis. Another one is bacteria has some surface molecules that closely attach to the bone extracellular matrix. These are the reason why organism in the blood usually settle down in the bone, especially in the metaphysis. Now, why diabetic foot is a route of entry of osteomyelitis? All of you know that diabetic patients are vulnerable to vascular disease and neuropathic disease. In uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, patient may develop atherosclerosis, which causes narrowing of the blood vessels in the foot, and their ischemic necrosis occurs, and ultimately ischemia is a good site for bacterial survival. So it is the route of entry site. It is one of the most common entry site for organism. Another one is in diabetic patients may develop peripheral neuropathy. In peripheral neuropathy, patients lose their sensation of pain. So they ignore their injury and infection persists. So osteomyelitis developed. Another one is in diabetic patient, leukocytes are less reactive to phagocytosis. So these are the reason why diabetic foot or diabetic individual has more chance of infections. We know what is osteomyelitis, what are the causative organism of osteomyelitis, and how they enter into the bone. After entering into the bone, how they causes the disease. Now we'll discuss about it. That means what is the pathogenesis of osteomyelitis? It is a very important question for your written examination. And in case of written examination, you have to write down it by this pattern, in flowchart. But before learning this, I would like to show you a picture. There are two different pictures. At first, we will emphasize this picture upon this picture. Staphylococcus aureus in bone tissue. This is a picture of long bone. This is the articular cartilage. This is the epiphysis, then diaphysis, and this is the metaphysis. Okay. Here, Staphylococcus aureus in the bone tissue. We know that bone is supplied by nutrient artery. And here, spatial type of circulation in the metaphysis of the long bone. Here, as we know that Staphylococcus is a pyogenic organism, that means it produces pus. So, here in the area of metaphysis, there is a small microabscess produced by Staphylococcus aureus. After some times, this abscess become large and expansion of this abscess causes formation of a large abscess. This abscess causes destruction of surrounding tissue of the bone and hamper the circulation. As it hampers the circulation, this area is lack of any kind of circulation and there is no blood supply. Ultimately, ischemia occurs and necrosis of this area causes formation of a dead piece of bone known as sequestrum. In advanced case, this sequestrum and pus under the periosteum causes subperiosteal abscess formation. Then lifting of periosteum. Sometimes in advanced case, this pus may invade the site and enter outside the periosteum, passes through the periosteum. Now, as we know that here is organism is affect our bone, our body has some defensive mechanism. What is that? Where a foreign particles is entered into our body, at first our acute inflammatory cell, neutrophil comes there, then after 24 hours, macrophage reaches that site. So, when a abscess is formed within the metaphysis, inflammatory cell like neutrophil, macrophage, lymphocytes accumulates surrounding the abscess and they causes releasing of various cytokine. What are these? Interleukin 1, 2, tumor necrosis factor, and many others. These cytokine stimulate the periosteum and endosteum, which is located inner side of the medulla. So, this stimulated periosteum and endosteum causes release of osteoprogenitor cell, which are responsible for formation of bone. And around this sequestrum, there is a formation of new bone, which is known as involucrum, This is a reactive bone, but this bone is not as strong as the normal bone. So, if this pus expands more and infection persists long, then pus may pass through this involucrum. This is known as the cloaca. Now, moving to the second picture. This is the initial stage where a microabscess is formed. Then second, more advanced case, subperiosteal abscess formation, and ultimately sequestrum and involucrum is formed. Now, the pathogenesis. Small septic microabscess formed at the capillary loop. Then expansion of the septic focus stimulates resorption of adjacent bony trabeculae. The abscess expands and stimulates reactive bone formation by periosteum. Then the abscess continues to expand through the cortex into the subperiosteal tissue, and extension of this process into the skin produces a draining sinus. The necrotic bone is known as sequestrum, and the viable bone surrounding a sequestrum is termed the involucrum. So what are the clinical presentation? In case of acute case, patient presents with fever, malaise, and pain. In subacute case, localized pain, unexplained fever, and in chronic case, patient may be present with discharging sinus, sepsis, endocarditis, amyloidosis, pathological fracture. What are the investigation? X-ray findings. That means plain X-ray is need to diagnose the disease. What will we find? A lytic focus of bone destruction surrounded by a zone of sclerosis. Here, this is the sequestrum, and these two are the reactive new bone. That means involucrum. And this is the cloaca. Some other laboratory investigations may be done. Blood routine test, blood cultures, biopsy, MRI, and CT scan. Biopsy is the confirmatory for diagnosis. Now coming to morphology. That means gross and microscopic picture. Grossly, we will see a dead piece of bone, that is sequestrum, a viable bone, involucrum, and draining sinus. Microscopically, in acute case, we will find neutrophilic infiltration and bone necrosis. Subperiosteal abscess, periosteal lifting. In chronic case, find dead piece of bone, that is sequestrum, then fibrous tissue growth, peripheral deposit of reactive bone involucrum, and lymphocytes and plasma cells, that are chronic inflammatory cell. This is the picture. This is the gross picture of a dead piece of bone, sequestrum, and this is a picture of acute and chronic osteomyelitis, where acute inflammatory cell, chronic inflammatory cell, fibrin deposition, new bone, and dead piece of bone are seen. These are some terminology of definition, very important for example. Sequestrum, segment of necrotic cortex trapped in pus. What is involucrum? Subperiosteal inflammation, reactive new bone surrounding the sequestrum. Cloaca, fenestrations in the involucrum. Brodys abscess, it is a small intraosseous abscess that frequently involves the cortex and is walled off by reactive bone. Now, management. Treatment options may be palliative and curative. In palliative, debridement of bone, drainage of pus, antibiotic, and analgesics. Sometimes, as we know that sequestrum is very much harmful as there is no blood circulation, so it is a very suitable site for bacterial growth. So, sequestrum must be removed from the site. Sometime in advanced case, the condition of the foot is so much worse that amputation may be needed. Reconstruction of that site by prosthetic implant arthrodesis, callus destruction, vascularis pedicle graft. What are the complications of osteomyelitis? In acute osteomyelitis, it may develop septicemia, acute suppurative arthritis, pathologic fracture, chronic osteomyelitis if persist for a long time. In chronic osteomyelitis, pathologic fracture, secondary amyloidosis, endocarditis, sepsis, development of squamous cell carcinoma in the sinus tract, and sarcoma may develop. Now, tubercular osteomyelitis. It is more destructive than pyogenic osteomyelitis, and we know that it is the most common cause of non-pyogenic osteomyelitis. It is spread by direct extension or blood spread. Patient presents with localized pain, low-grade fever, and weight loss. Complications of tubercular osteomyelitis are tubercular arthritis, psoas abscess, sinus tract formation, amyloidosis. Morphologically, most important diagnostic criteria is caseating granuloma. What is POS disease? Tubercular spondylodiscitis. Infection of the spinal disc and spread of infection to adjacent vertebral bodies and paraspinal soft tissue caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Complications: spinal cord compression, kyphoscoliosis, neurological deficits. There are two types of metabolic disease of bone. One is osteopenia and another is osteoporosis. Osteopenia refers to decreased bone mass, and osteoporosis is defined as osteopenia that is severe enough to significantly increase the risk of fracture. Thank you all for patience hearing.